The University of Chicago is known for a lot of things, one of which is its cost. Their website estimates $93,000 for 1 year of their undergraduate program. That's pretty ridiculous, but when you look on campus, things definitely look the part. The buildings look very expensive, although, interestingly, a lot of these buildings seem heavily dependent on donations to get built. But one thing I never knew until I stepped foot on campus was that the architecture is very eclectic. If you go in Google Images and search for the school, it looks like everything is just classic Gothic architecture, and there definitely is plenty of that. But interspersed with those, there's a lot more going on, and it's fascinating. Today, we're going to explore some of the most interesting buildings on the University of Chicago campus in Hyde Park. First, we have the Cummings Life Science Center, which looks, according to someone on Reddit, like the sort of chopsticks you have to break apart. Designed by I.W. Colburn, Harold Hellman, and Schmidt, Garden, and Erickson, the building was completed in 1972. The chopstick things are actually functional. Apparently, they're all ventilation shafts because the labs need temp and humidity control. Alrighty, this one is really something. This is the Henry Hinds Laboratory for the Geophysical Sciences, also designed by our friend I.W. Colburn and completed in 1969. The entry on the university's architecture website says that the building is as respectful of its predecessors as it is forward looking. That may be true, but I would counter by saying it's ugly. Let's talk about the one building that sparked this entire video, the Joe and Rika Mansueto Library. Designed by Helmut Jahn and completed in 2011, I see this as competition to the Louvre Pyramid in Paris. It was actually used in a scene in the Divergent movie, too. A friend tells me that the library inside the dome is the sort of library where you get yelled at for whispering. But what you see on the surface is only the tip of the iceberg. Below the dome is a massive 3.5 million volume automated book retrieval system. If anyone watching is able to get me a tour of this thing, I would be so stoked. But next to it is a monument to brutalism, the Joseph Regenstein Library. Designed by Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill and completed in 1970, it's big, it's blocky, and it's functional. The university's architecture website says that it has a mechanical penthouse, which is a term that is not defined, nor are there any photos of this, but I would be very interested to learn more. There's a funny quote on its Wikipedia page by the university's former provost. On our campus, it's not the football game that draws the biggest crowd, it's evening study in the library. So, in case you were considering the University of Chicago for your college experience, please consider that quote. Then we can talk about the West Campus Combined Utility Plant, designed by Helmut Jahn and completed in 2010. I'm a huge fan of this building, which takes all the inner workings of an industrial building and says, hey, these don't have to be shoved in some bland concrete structure. Instead, we can make everything look beautiful and make it a display piece. Then we have the Gerald Ratner Athletics Center, which every time I've been here, I've spotted it from a distance and figured it must be a bridge because it has these suspension bridge looking things on top. Designed by Cesar Pelli, who designed the Petronas Towers, pretty big credit there, and completed in 2003, there actually is a reason for the bridge looking things. It won some awards because it has massive open spaces in the building, like an Olympic sized swimming pool, and they didn't want to put any columns inside. So these masts, cables, and counterweights basically support the roof in a different way. Next is the Gordon Parks Arts Hall. Designed by Valerio DeWalt Train Associates and completed in 2015, it's got a couple theaters, some labs, and other stuff. But design-wise, it looks like a hodgepodge renovation of an old building, but in reality, it's a new design. Personally, I like it as it tries to combine Gothic styles with the super modern glass. Then we have the Charles M. Harper Center, basically the business school building, designed by Raphael Vignoli and completed in 2004. They took the Roby House across the street and the Rockefeller Chapel, also across the street, and made a baby with a bunch of glass, including these cool arch-ish supports for the really large inner atrium. The colors of the building date it somewhat, but the shapes and lines are very interesting. Alrighty, time for what I think is the ugliest building on campus, the Reva and David Logan Center for the Arts. Designed by Todd Williams Billy Zion Architects and completed in 2012, it looks somewhat like a periscope peeking out of the trees and watching you. While I don't doubt that having an orchestra rehearsal inside this tower would give a stunning view of the sunset, it also unfortunately might ruin some other people's view of that same sunset. Next is a building that looks like it was copied from IIT's campus and pasted here in Hyde Park. This is the Crown Family School of Social Work, Policy, and Practice, designed by none other than Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and completed in 1965. The entry on the Chicago architecture website is pretty short because There's not a ton you can say. It's a classic design, flat, unassuming, but also really aesthetically pleasing. And last but certainly not least is the David Rubenstein Forum, designed by Diller, Scofidio, and Renfro, completed in 2020. This building looks like those you see in catalogs or in renders as the building of the future, but I hadn't ever seen something like this in person. And it's bold. They say that the 10 stories are supposed to be this sort of distinct vertical neighborhoods. Definitely a cool concept, but we'll see if it stands the test of time. Let me know in the comments which is your favorite from this list or which one gives you a migraine just looking at it. Thanks for watching.